Hey, JT.
How's it going?
Good. Zach's pitched pretty well against the Cardinals this season, and it was asked earlier of Zach, how much can he stay the same facing this team a third time, and how much do you think you need to change it up to kind of keep them on their toes a little bit?
Yeah, I think each time you face a lineup, especially one as good as they have, it gets a little more challenging. But the way Zach pitches, he's pretty successful at what he does. So I feel like he just has to go out there and be himself. And we'll kind of let the game dictate where we go with the game plan and whether we need to make adjustments and do something differently. But for me, we're going to stick with Zach's strengths, and he's going to pound the strike zone with multiple pitches. And, you can do that against just about anybody.
What have you liked about his stuff since he came back? Because I think there were a lot of nerves about how good is he going to be, but the numbers certainly look impressive. What have you seen coming out of his hand?
Yeah, he's just been electric. Since the first day he's been back from the IL, his fastball has been really good, better than I thought it was early in the season this year. And when he's got his fastball going and he can throw it to both sides of the plate, 2 seams, 4 seams to righties and lefties, and just be able to mix fastballs like that with how explosive it is and getting it ahead in the strike zone, it makes it really tough on opposing hitters. And, that's what he's been able to do really well since he's been back with us.
We'll go to Jimmy and then Matt. JT, you fill a lot of important roles for the team. Offensively, leadership in the clubhouse, game planning, receiving. But where does controlling the running game kind of fit for you and your level of importance, how you approach things, and what type of pride do you take in that, and what type of a challenge is it?
It's right up there with everything else for me, honestly. I try to look at the game. All facets of the game are extremely important to me. That's why I try to be the best I can in every one of them, defensively, offensively, base running, in the clubhouse. No matter what it is, I try to be the best I can in every situation, because you never know where the game's going to take you, and which, whether you need base running that day. If you don't have your bat necessarily, you're not hitting well, or one day you might need defense more than offense, whatever it is. I try to excel in all areas of the game the best I can. They're all really important to me, but controlling the running game is something that's kind of a lost art. I think it's going to be more important next year, maybe, with the new rules we got coming along. So it's definitely something that I take a lot of pride in, and it's important to me.
Is your first time in the playoffs. I'm wondering, have you talked to maybe some of your former teammates you play with? I know you've played a long time, looking for this moment. What kind of advice have you gotten in terms of, you're a pretty even-keeled guy, but this is a big spot? Yeah,
no doubt. Talked to quite a few of my teammates, obviously, that have been in this situation. Really, most of the advice is hey, just go out there and have fun. It's the same game. You're going to have more butterflies than normal, which I kind of expect that, but once the game starts, it's just about winning, and that's really all that matters. And that's the purest form of baseball. So I'm excited to experience that for the first time, to where if you're 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, it literally doesn't matter if you're up 4-0, So I'm excited to experience that, where you're only worried about winning. The whole team's pulling in the same direction, and that's all that matters. And that's what the postseason's all about.
I'm wondering, what have you seen of late from Sir Anthony, and what do you think maybe could get him going in the right direction heading into the playoffs here?
I think command more than anything has been the issue. I think he's just fallen behind in the count too often. His slider, I think that's kind of the key for us, to get his slider back in the strike zone and be able to use it effectively, getting ahead of guys, or use it for chase when he needs to. I think the stuff has obviously still been there. He's throwing the ball hard. Everything's sharp. He just falling behind in the count too much, and he's a guy, when he's ahead in the count, he's really tough to handle. So that's kind of the key point for him.
Scott?
Just another one on Wheeler. So you've caught him now for, 3 years, and you faced him for several years before that. How does he look any different? Does he look any different to you behind the plate than he did when you were at the plate?
I think the stuff looks very similar. I just think the execution is a lot better the last couple of years than it had been in the past. He's just able, I mention it so often, he's able to get ahead of guys and power through guys with his stuff in the strike zone. And I feel like in the past he was a little more erratic, falling behind too often, and then he kind of had to come back to the middle of the plate. He didn't have the same command that he has now. And now you guys will see he's pitching to the edges the entire at bat, because he's getting ahead and he can command the fastball whenever he wants. And he's just a guy that you never know what's coming because he can command so many pitches in the strike zone, and they're all quality pitches. So that's the biggest difference that I see from him now than a few years ago.
JT, I asked this question to Zach about Rob Thompson. I mean, obviously you guys have all played for a ton of managers, coming up. What about him is kind of unique? What are his gifts kind of as a manager? And, I mean, do they matter? I mean, you guys, whoever you play for, you go about your business, and it's kind of batter versus pitcher. But, kind of what are the strengths of his that kind of show themselves in your team?
No, it definitely matters. Thompson's, he's just kind of that calming presence for our clubhouse. We had a lot of expectation coming into this year, and obviously we didn't perform how we would want to early in the season. And when Thompson took over, he just kind of instilled that confidence in us, like, hey, I believe in you guys as a group. This is how we're going to do things. I'm going to communicate. I'm going to put you guys out there in the best situations, and I'm going to trust that you're going to get through them. If you struggle, we're going to get through it. Like, I believe in this club. I believe in this team. I believe in every one of these players. And when you have that belief from your manager, it's just, when you have a couple bad games or whatever, you're not, looking behind your back wondering whether you're going to play the next day or whatever the case may be. He gave us all that confidence that he believed in us, and that's a big deal for a ball club, as you guys could see.
I mean, Zach said it's the obvious question given his interim status, and Zach said he would hope to see him back next year. Is that kind of the feeling in the clubhouse, and on your part, are you willing to give an endorsement?
Yeah, of course. I think everybody on the ball club feels that way.
Hey, JT, the answer to this might be tied into this last answer, but I'm curious, just as you guys were struggling late September, how real was the concern in that clubhouse of letting this opportunity slip, and then what was key to you guys getting right at the very end?
I don't think it was too much of a concern. We had a lot of confidence in the clubhouse that we had and the group of ball players that we had. We just, we were in kind of one of those lulls that you go through. Obviously, the time of the year we had it was pretty awful, so it creeps into your head a little bit, but we never lost confidence in who we were as a ball club and where we were going. The whole season we felt like we were a playoff caliber team, and that couple weeks there in September didn't really change that.
Is that a trait that was evident in this year's team that might have been absent prior years?
I think so. I think we had more staff members, that stayed with that belief, and then also the players that we brought here this offseason, the playoff experience, the type of teammates that we have in that clubhouse kind of helped with that experience.
Going off of Matt's question on Sir Anthony, what have you seen from David Robertson? What does he need to do to get right?
Kind of the same song and dance, really. It's about he's just walking too many guys. He's not giving up a ton of hits or a ton of damage. It's more he just gets himself in trouble by falling behind in counts, giving guys free bases. And, when it's late in the ball game and it's a close game, those walks are really important, and every base runner matters. So it just, everybody tightens up when there's a runner on first and we have a runner in lead, as opposed to getting that first guy out. And his stuff is great. It's just a matter of getting ahead of guys, being able to throw his fastball, cutter, curveball, slider, being able to throw them for strikes is the most important thing.
Time for a couple more, so let's go right here.
JT, Ben Fredrickson from the Post-Dispatch. As a catcher, is there any significance to you in your first shot at the postseason being Yadier Molina's last postseason? Does that register at all?
Not necessarily, but I've definitely watched a lot of Yadi playing in the postseason, and he was one of my idols when I was coming up catching, so it's a pretty cool experience being able to play against him and what will be his last postseason.
In the back on the left.
JT, Chris O'Connell from Fox Philadelphia. We literally just came in. I think I'm here on behalf of the fans. I think we were all celebrating with you in the clubhouse, whether it be watching on TV, the fans back at home. What do you tell the fans that are watching? What do you tell the fans that are here that are just as playoff starved as you guys were?
Yeah, I mean, just glad we finally did it. It's obviously been a long time coming. We haven't done as well the past few years as we had expected, but this year, we finally got over the hump and got to the postseason, and what we have ahead of us is what we've been wanting all season long, is a chance at the postseason, and We just needed a ticket in the door. We're here. Now we just need your support. Hopefully we come win this wild card series, and then that first playoff home game in Philadelphia will be pretty electric.
We'll go back to Todd to finish up.
You were, I think, 21 for 21 stealing bases. You started out perfectly. I'm wondering how much prep work you put into that. Is that a lot of Paco? Walk me kind of through that process and being effective.
Yeah, so Paco pretty much does all the prep work for us. I'll come to him maybe 30 minutes before every game and say, Paco, what do we got today? We got a chance. How's this pitcher? Like, what's his times at the plate? And he'll have all the information. He watches all the film. If the guy has a tell on when he picks or when he doesn't pick, stuff like that, he has all that information ready for us, before the game, and we'll just have a 5-minute conversation over it.
So you were perfect up until Monday. What went wrong on Monday?
I blame Paco. They gave me the green light against a guy that's a 1-3 to the plate, and also with a very good catcher behind the plate. So that was a spot where I was just trying to get in scoring position with 2 outs. I knew that he's fast at the plate and we have a good catcher, so I knew it was probably my least chance of getting a bag all season long that I've had. Okay. But in that situation, in that game, it was so important for me to try to get to second with 2 outs that I had to take a chance there.
How much pride did you take, though, in just being a 2020 catcher? I mean, only the second guy ever to do that.
A lot, yeah. I mean, it was something I actually told Paco before the season started, like, hey, I want to get 20 bags this year. And he kind of just laughed it off because I hadn't done it before. But being able to do the 20 home runs with that as well was pretty special.
JT, did you being a base stealer, does that help you actually, when you're behind the plate, control the running game? You can think like they do?
I think so, a little bit, yeah. I usually have a pretty good feel of when guys are wanting to run or what counts. If our pitchers, if I see him getting too like the same rhythm every time and the same time to the plate and not being able to change it up and change their looks, I can see that from catching because I'd be able to see it as a first base or base runner. So yeah, I'll tell him like, hey, you got to change up your looks, hold a little